Welcome back to Pinup, our monthly segment that we bring you right into our studio and share with you our different inspirations, whether it's from the internet, from social media, or from physical printed magazines, like the old school way, only if this Gen Z can hold it, you know?
Okay, so we're starting off our month of verses with a little millennial Gen Z rivalry, I see. Our theme of the month this month is verses. For our year of twos, this is about one versus another. Our source of inspiration for verses is the movies of Dune, and we talk about those much more in depth in our Though episode.
And if you haven't watched it, you definitely should check that out. We're going to link it at the end of this video. So let's get to pinning. Dune is a series of rivalries. There's two sides to any conversation, battles, and rivalries. Mm-hmm. So we start the pinup segment here, setting that up.
Maybe this time I can get it right side up. We've broken down the rivalries in Dune, and we see this contrast between sheer and opaque and what that represents.
To me, sheer is about this outward approach, this connection, versus opaque is something really guarded. It's more internalized and introverted. So we see that a lot in the costume designs, but also in fashion as well.
I mean, if you look at any red carpet, it looks like it's been pulled straight from Dune right now.
You know, I think that we see that in these sheer images here, where through all of the layers of fabric and full those garments are, you still see truly the bodies. Mm-hmm. You kind of are seeing the form being celebrated. Versus opaque is really about sculptural, in a sense that you're building another layer on top of the body, giving a bit of a sense of mystery of what's kind of underneath, but not truly about seeing the body itself, for example.
I think what resonates with me with all of that is on this kind of sheer side, with all of these images, you can see their eyes, and there's that saying that the eyes are the window into the soul, and I think that really kind of showcases the almost vulnerability of this, whereas on the opaque side, their eyes are covered with some sort of hat. It creates this kind of almost more guarded, mysterious sense.
So to me, it's really about whether you want an armor or do you want a veil. Mm-hmm. Speaking of armor or veil, we go into this next trend with the big question of man versus nature, angular versus organic. On one side, we see how man is building almost an armor to protect themselves from the environment, versus the other side, who choose to coexist with the environment and to be one with nature.
Yeah, we see on the angular side, it's kind of this sense of imposing itself onto nature or delineating itself from the environment. Kind of like this manifestation of human nature. As perfectionists, we want things to be clean and tight and have this organization to it. Versus on the organic side, we still have this sense of rhythm, but instead it's drawing from nature and trying to be one with the rest of the environment, which is where we're seeing things trending like biomimicry.
It's like a peacock versus a chameleon, right? Do you want to stand out or do you want to camouflage? And I think that that's kind of the age-old internal rivalry within ourselves between a sense of control or going with the flow.
We've been talking this whole time about how Dune has created the future in a different way. They're creating the future using heritage and history, versus the other approach to the future that we see that's much more fictional. They're creating something that's completely new and doesn't exist yet.
To me, one of the clearest point for this trend is the presence of technology. The fictional future is showcasing technology as the main star. Mm-hmm. It's almost like this new shiny object that they just got and they want to show it off, you know? Versus the historical approach where technology is much more integrated. People at this point are much more used to it, so that's just really part of everyday life.
Yeah, I think it's really about the difference in world building. In the fictional future, the world is technology, versus the historical future shows how the tools and technology built the world, but it focuses more on the story.
So this rivalry or this trend, you know, fictional versus historical, really boils down to the big question of how versus why. Mm-hmm. One side, the how, focuses on methods and techniques, versus the other side, the why, focuses on story and emotion.
This month's source of inspiration is the epic universe of Dune, which takes place in a distant, post-technological future fueled by tension and ambition.
This episode explores a series of rivalries extending from the film, including opaque versus sheer, angular versus organic, fictional versus historical, which leads to a series of design and trend explorations that dig deeper into the questions of armor versus veil, man versus nature, and how versus why. Join us for our next episode where we will break down another source of inspiration into the trends of today. Follow and subscribe to Studio Though on YouTube. You don't want to miss this. Happy thowing.
Happy thowing!